My name is... Whoa, we're not doing memes, okay? We're not doing memes. So hello guys, my name is Evie Devi. Something that I and the Pokemon fanbase really want is for there to be an open world Pokemon game. Most people want the games to be as open as Breath of the Wild. I think Pokemon can definitely do this, however I think Pokemon will have to make a lot of changes to its gameplay mechanics before that. And I'm not talking about needing more power for engines or developing teams or anything like that. I mean things I know Pokemon can easily change with its mechanics. And to do this, Game Freak needs to look at breaking its traditions to come up with new innovative ideas. And just to be clear, everyone has their own idea of how open world games should be, but I think this is the best way to do it. And I don't hate the Pokemon series by any means, but I just feel like it could evolve a bit. No pun intended. Also, I'm still kind of trying to look for my art style, so my art style is going to frequently change throughout this video, just letting you know in advance. Pokemon is one of the most beloved video game series out there. Yet some people also criticize the series not to have too many innovative ideas. And if we're being honest here, to some degree that's kinda true. You can probably give someone Gen 5 on the DS and Gen 1 from the Game Boy, and they would probably just say it plays exactly the same to some people. Because the Pokemon series hasn't really, no pun intended, evolved that much throughout the years. Now some people would say Game Freak is lazy due to this, but I don't think that at all. Core Pokemon games have only been limited to the handheld devices since it came out, and this limited what Game Freak can do, especially considering that Nintendo doesn't focus on power for its handheld devices. And Nintendo in general was starting to see the same type of criticism. That was until The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Switch. Oh, and Wii U. It was not just a great video game, but a huge open world game that we thought we would only see with like PlayStation or Xbox games, and it broke so many traditions of previous Zelda games. Everyone then thought it would be a great idea to have Pokemon be implemented into a huge open world setting like Breath of the Wild. And Masuda from Game Freak actually did give word on this, saying that the open world setting from Breath of the Wild wouldn't be well suited for Pokemon, since it wouldn't really make sense for us just to catch Pokemon in there. While I understand many Pokemon fans would completely go against this, I actually completely agree with Masuda here. Up to Gen 7, Pokemon battles were separate to how you explore in the overworld and has no impact on the overall overworld mechanics. This means even if you had a Pokemon game as big as Breath of the Wild, you wouldn't really have much to do in the actual overworld. While you could make Pokemon an open world, if you wanted to make it a really good one like Breath of the Wild, you need to have more than just a big open space. The first thing to truly define an open world than just a video game with a big world is that there has to be non-linear narrative. You have to have a wide variety of different choices you can make to go to a different location, or have different locations to go to altogether. While previous Pokemon games seem to be very big and lots of exploration, it's very linear in the way you progress. You know how every Pokemon has the traditional 8 gyms, except Gen 7? But here are two ideas I have for the series. Either make more gyms. Why not make 18 gyms? I know that sounds crazy, but I think we're at the age where we can have a lot. There are 18 types, so why not 18 gyms? Or even more. The game could be so open that you can go to any gym wherever you want. You could do it at your own pace. Or how about a better idea, possibly? How about no gyms? I always felt the gem system, as long as with the Champion and Elite Four thing, kinda limited the story. It was good for Gen 1, but trying to tell an elaborate story was kind of hard. And what's worse is instead of adding it with some great climax with a legendary Pokemon, it just ends with you just becoming Champion, the same old stuff. Honestly, the two most underrated Pokemon games in my opinion, Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, was able to tell really great stories even without the gym system. In fact, I would say because the gym system wasn't there, it didn't limit the story. But that's just to make the game less linear. And that leads to another thing. You have to have something to do in the overworld. The biggest problem with trying to make Pokemon an open world with the current traditional battle system is that too much of the overworld will just be plains of grass with trainers that will probably still have animations like in Gen 7 but will still act as just toe posts for you to get to the next area. An overworld filled with only just trainers and plains of just, well, plains would just be plain boring. Lots of games nowadays have areas where you can interact with the platforms, but Pokemon doesn't really have that to utilize in the battle system. And simply just putting more objects in the overworld or just simply changing the battle system isn't going to work. But having wild Pokemon go free roam would be an absolutely great idea, as this pretty much allows you to interact with the environment. In fact, so back at the start of 2018, I came up with a video that would go into two major gameplay elements that would make Pokemon so much much better. It was the most genius thing ever that no one ever thought of. It was to make wild Pokemon free roam and introduce a new interactive catching mechanic, something Game Freak would never do. Took my idea! With a S at the end. The catching mechanic was not how I envisioned it to be, but I'll get into that in a bit. Now, when Let's Go first came out, I wanted to share how my vision of Pokemon was similar to what Let's Go was doing. But there was so much controversy over the game, or games, that...
An age of war had begun.
That I kinda just backed out. I decided to wait until I knew what the game was like, or games, whatever. And while at first it seemed many people were unsure about the free roam mechanic, everyone seemed to love it. I mean, some people probably do prefer the traditional way of random battles, but it was pretty much positively received and didn't seem to have any flaws. Which actually sucks for me, because I remember listing a whole bunch of reasons why the free roam would be so much better. I guess I'll just briefly go over them though. But not now, because if I go into the whole list of complaints I have with the series, then you're probably going to move away from the video because you think I just hate the Pokemon series, even though I don't, I love it. Meanwhile, the Legend of Zelda series, as well as Breath of the Wild, is such a good open world series because you can fight in the open world. You can use objects around you to fight other enemies. You can interact with objects to find puzzles. You can find different routes to find secrets. You have different ways to travel across the open world. And finally, there are different items to collect throughout the open world, such as cutting grass or looking in trees to collect items that can really help you in battle. While Pokemon tends to have hidden items, they're usually just locked behind a HM mechanic, or you just have to simply look around. You just go to it and you pick it up. So now I'm going to give you some ideas that would make Pokemon much more true to an open world game and make it much more better in my opinion. Pokemon Let's Go had some pretty fun free roaming mechanics that made shinies pretty fun. I haven't played it aside from the demo though, but when you think about it, aren't all catching methods pretty much the same by this point? You see the Pokemon in the wild, you go up to it and catch it. How about Pokemon that can only be caught by sneaking up from behind? Or maybe you need to catch/defeat a certain Pokemon but it has a boosted stat. Or Pokemon that require thinking or puzzles to start a battle with them. Say for instance, Beedrill and Beacomb can only be caught in trees with beehives, and the only way to get them is you need to find a certain way to shake the tree to get the beehive down. Wait, you're telling me they already have a mechanic like that? Well, whatever, you get the point. How about fishing for Pokemon, but you can actually see the fish in the water? No more freaking Magikarp. But obvious mechanic to make Pokemon a really great open world is to just simply have lots of great side quests. I know Pokemon has to some degree had side content like contests, which didn't really feel like it was connected to the main story at all. But what I mean by side quests are small events throughout the game that you can actually do to help you in the main game. Or at least usually. Now Pokemon to some degree has had some side content, like a trainer saying they want to see a specific Pokemon, or maybe they want to trade or something, but they don't feel like true side quests in the sense of an actual RPG. How about we actually have a list for side quests? Though we need more than just simply catching a certain Pokemon or getting a certain item. Breath of the Wild, Spider-Man 2018, and Kingdom Hearts 3 were able to have really good side quests because they had a picture mode, which was used to do side quests and pretty much do a quite load of selfies. Pokemon had the same thing in Sun and Moon, so instead of using the app for just separate mini-games, just simply use it for a way to get items or good money. But here's another idea. Let's look back at HMs. HMs were tools that allow you to traverse through barriers as you progress through the game, while sacrificing moves and certain necessities in the process, allowing them to become very annoying. The Zelda series as well as Metroid did this type of formula first, but things changed in Breath of the Wild. Now you can go anywhere you want without limitations. Gen 7 did a revolutionary job of getting rid of HMs and instead just giving you Pokemon that can do the work for you, or in Let's Go's case just have special moves. But how about this? Take a page from Breath of the Wild, and let's say you get all of them right from the bat, especially Fly. So many games allow you to fast travel right from the bat, so why not Pokemon? You can just fly wherever you want, or just limit it to teleport. Have teleport you place to place, while fly allows you to pretty much fly in the skies, or fly just slightly above the ground, similar to Pokemon Let's Go. Now the problem is HMs were a tool for you to connect with the Pokemon, though what if you just get like a normal set of Pokemon right at the start of the game, I don't know, like some Pokemon organization or something, who are friends with you throughout the game so you can connect with them as well as your own Pokemon. But there's a way to make the HM mechanic so much better. I've been thinking, wouldn't it be better to use the HM mechanics similar to the Sheikah Slay abilities in Breath of the Wild, even before Breath of the Wild came out? How about there being levels where there's fire and lava, and you need to use water to put out the fire, or put water on lava to make stone platforms in order to jump across areas? Or using an electric type, or should I say electric move, to generate parts of a factory to get through platform elements. Or maybe you can use rock climb on mountain areas like in Breath of the Wild, but don't make it so obvious where you can use it, making you have to think where you can use it. These are just some examples from the top of my head. It would actually give you a lot to do and make exploration really fun. But now let's look at one mechanic from Let's Go that I was really surprised by and really liked. In Pokemon Let's Go, you don't have a PC. It's all in your bag. You can access any of the Pokemon you've caught at any place in the game. That is extremely convenient. With previous Pokemon games, if you knew you were going against a certain type of trainer, you would have to go all the way back to the PC and get a certain type of Pokemon. Or if you just wanted to go for a certain wild type Pokemon within a certain route, you would have to go to the PC again. Or if you hatched an egg, or if you caught a new Pokemon, or if your Pokemon even got slightly hurt. Oh wow. I never realized how flawed this was. Now the only problem that many people would probably have with this is the difficulty. You could say being able to switch Pokemon at any time would be overpowered, but you could always do that. It was just a matter of whether or not you thought it was worth it to backtrack, or sacrificing items. The only time I think it would be bad is with the Elite Four. Though this led me to another idea. One that you might be hesitant to, but just hear me out. What if we got rid of Pokemon Centers entirely? Wait, hear me out. I think your Pokemon should automatically get fully healed after every battle. I know some hardcore people are probably gonna think that makes the game too easy, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. Just remember, you could have healed at any time throughout the games for the most part. In fact, there would sometimes be healers scattered throughout the game. Though it would take out the elements of survival with Pokemon, I think it's a good trade. Or, even better, have certain sections of the game where you cannot use the healing or PC process. You know, like maybe there's only one Nurse Joy throughout the entire region, and she uses like a Pokemon network so that way you can heal and use the PC. And in areas like caves, evil hangouts, or the Elite Four, or certain gyms, you can't use that GPS, meaning no healing or going to the PC. And while you can exit the area, you have to restart your whole progress. That can still keep things difficult. Being able to heal after every battle would be super effective. No pun intended. I swear to God that wasn't intended. And before you say healing after every battle would make the game too easy, try and tell me that the Battle Frontier or the Battle Tower is still easy. I'm not saying this has to be a feature, but it would make the game a little less tedious. But now let's move on to the Pokemon moves. There's a major problem I have with Pokemon that I always disliked about it. Why can we not relearn Pokemon moves so easily? We need to use heart scales to do it, but let me give you some information. It's kind of extremely limiting. There are literally so many RPGs where you can switch the moves and arsenal of pretty much any character. Why does Pokemon have to be limited to heart scales? I think it would be way more strategic and way more fun if you could relearn a Pokemon move at any point in the game. I can understand a Pokemon only being able to use 4 moves per match, but the idea that they just completely forget how to use a move ever again can make it very, very frustrating, and it's just overall kind of stupid when you think about it. And heart scales are pretty easy to obtain anyway by this point. 3 more things. First off, as for the co-op that was introduced in Pokemon Let's Go, that was very fun. I mean, despite the very confusing control scheme, freaking Joy-Cons. But it made the game way too easy. I think a solution to this is simply when a second player is there, simply switch to double battles. Or even better, remember Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness? Those games were entirely double battles. So why not do the same with Pokemon? Have every battle be a double battle so that way the second player doesn't feel like a handicap. Sadly, I don't know if Pokemon Pokemon's gonna stray that far from the tradition, but I think they should. In fact, 2 or 3 Pokemon at once makes it much more strategic in my opinion. Though they likely won't do this unless they're doing like another standalone Pokemon game. Though never say never. Wait, I just did. I also heard that the second player was limited in the overworld and what they could do, so I hope they remove those limitations if they ever do it again. Another thing, EVs, which if you're not a Pokemon expert, you know are effort values. What if you can customize where the EV points go? And no, I don't mean EV training from Gen 6. I mean being able to take the EV points and being able to choose which stat it goes to almost at any time in the game. I know that some people would probably go against that, maybe, but it would give so much customization. I don't know if it would be overpowered to be honest, but it would be pretty cool. And finally, we have shinies, or rare color Pokemon as I like to call it. I want shinies to be a lot easier to obtain because, well, shinies aren't really fun to catch to be honest, in the traditional sense. Trust me, I did it before. You spend hours and hours just trying to catch the same freaking Pokemon based on some low random chance, only to get nothing back but a Pokemon with a slightly different color. And when you get one by accident, so what? It's just a different color. All you get is your own make-believe self-appreciation. That's all you get. But, as it turns out, Let's Go kind of indirectly made it easier. And funner. From what I've seen, it's just way easier and way funner to see a Pokemon out in the wild and just suddenly go for that Pokemon and be so excited when you finally get it. But I want to go farther to make the shiny Pokemons way more funner. What if shiny Pokemon aren't just limited to just one different color? What if there's like 6 or more different type of colors per Pokemon? That will make customization way funner. I mean, surely it can be easy, right? They're just different colors. Having a Pokemon look like this or look like that would just be so fun, and I know to some degree they did that with a few of their Pokemon before, but this would be just so much funner. And as for why I'm making this video instead of just making a meme about the Scottish Trainer, I really do care about this series, and I really want it to change to become the best series it can be, because I know it can achieve that goal. I know you might not agree with every point I said, or maybe you're still on the fence with it, but hopefully you at least enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Okay, now that you're this far in the video, I can finally just go into a rant without having to worry about you guys leaving. Here's why random generated wild Pokemon battles kinda suck compared to free roam ones. Please don't kill me.
First reason is that it makes trying to move around the world way much better as you don't have to worry about running into people in the grass and getting these random battles every 5 seconds or literally every step. It was extremely annoying in the games, like back in the other games. I can't go through like a patch of grass wearing like, oh god, I just want to go through, please don't let there be a battle, please don't. It was extremely obnoxious and I know I'm not the only one that felt that way. Reason 2, running away sucks. Going into a battle, then having to watch that whole transition of the Pokemon enter the battle and you throw your Pokeball, then you run, then seeing you got away safely is super annoying. It takes so long. What's worse is you have a chance that you might not be able to run away, not unless you have a very like higher level Pokemon. But let's say you just want to grind. Then you have like a small Pokemon who's just trying to grind, but you're like, I don't want to get that Pokemon. Or you're just trying to go for like a specific Pokemon to catch, and you get clobbered because you can't run away. It's extremely annoying. You would think the clean tag will be able to help, but sometimes it doesn't even work. You have to have a Pokemon higher level than the wild Pokemon at the start of your party, meaning you can't grind with your weaker one. Luckily they kind of remedy this with the whole XP share in Gen 6, but whatever. Still make Pokemon catching kind of a nuisance if they're a bit under-leveled and they're trying to like use Thunder Wave to paralyze it. Reason number 3, repels suck. I'm sorry, that sounds mean. I'm not trying to say I hate the Pokemon series, but Jesus Christ, have you ever thought about how repels work? You're spending in-game money just to make the mechanics of the game less annoying. They pretty much give you a way to pretty much bypass all the Pokemon, but you need to have a certain higher level Pokemon. Okay, but you can only use it for like a certain amount of time, and it gets annoying. It especially makes his caves a nightmare. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Zubats and those furry ones from Gen 5, whatever. It's extremely tedious and annoying, and you can't even get out. It's one of the worst experiences ever. Sorry. It's just annoying because they don't really serve a purpose aside from just making the game less annoying. In turn, it just still makes the game annoying though, because you have to keep spraying yourself with it. I mean, having to spray yourself with Deodorant just to avoid seeing the same screen over and over again is just extremely annoying in my opinion. Last reason, there are just too many Pokemon. Now, this may apply to only certain people, but if you're someone who's actually trying to catch a specific Pokemon, or trying to catch all the Pokemon, like I still for some reason am trying to do in the Pokemon games, it can be extremely annoying trying to go through random battles trying to find the specific Pokemon you want, all because there are just too many Pokemon. See, with Gen 6 and Gen 7, they had to put so many Pokemon into the game, and now you have like, what, 8 Pokemon in each route. That means trying to find the one Pokemon you want is like 12% or even less than that. Sometimes you may try to catch all the Pokemon on a certain route before moving on, but you won't even be sure. And that's the thing, when Pokemon Let's Go was coming out, people were very mad that they weren't getting more than 151 Pokemon. They said they wanted like 800 Pokemon. But I highly, highly doubt that. I don't think anyone wants to catch like 800 or even 600 Pokemon in one game. Pokemon has technically never done that, or at least outside of like online stuff. I believe Gen 6 had the most Pokemon in one game that you can actually catch on routes, and that was like around 475 or so. And then you had Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which had like 300, not counting Ultra Space. Even then though, it seemed like many people did not want to complete the Pokédex, to be honest. I'm gonna ask you, do you want to catch that many? Because it just feels like people don't go that far. Maybe like 200 something, but not 300 or more. People just don't go that far. People aren't willing to invest that much time for the annoying mechanic that is just a random battle mechanic, okay? Just to find that certain Pokemon. And don't even get me started on the whole trading feature. Ugh, that's outdated. I felt like people only wanted more Pokemon Let's Go because we felt like we were just getting more overall content, or some people just really like the Johto or whatever region. Not necessarily because there wasn't that much Pokemon. In fact, Gen 3, Gen 4, and Gen 5 had around the same amount of Pokemon in the main game.
So let me know in the comments if you think my ideas are great or if you think they're just really bad. I'm trying my best.